we're going to pivot across the Tasman now and look at Super Rugby Aotearoa. Super Rugby Aotearoa. Yes. We love a bit of Kiwi rugby.
We do.
Well, last year it was just the best club competition in rugby without exception. It was an extraordinary standard.
They did an international service to all of us affected by the virus and stuff by just putting on a great season of fantastic rugby. And
if you haven't treated yourself, and now you're watching this show, of course you have, but if you haven't treated yourself to this competition, you need to find a way. It's they play blistering offensive rugby at a great tempo, really, really high standard. It functions as like a broader All Black trial, but there's sensational teams, wonderful team dynamics. They're building in some great defence and kicking hustle along with the usual offensive stuff. But what functions from it, the amount of just high quality players that are playing this high tempo rugby.
The skills you see in this competition.
It just becomes as high a standard as club rugby gets. They drive the standards up so much. The Crusaders spearheading that, and it just like last year it was stunning. Like the Hurricanes or the Blues could have been European champions. They played such good rugby, and they couldn't in the end rein in the Crusaders. Just incredibly efficient, and awesome defenders and incredible on transition. And it was a simple formula for them, but the amount of class players in this competition, it's always
mouth-watering for the rugby purists and for the neutral. It's a joy to watch. Brilliant spectacle throughout. And it was fantastic last year. Obviously, for the uninitiated, it features 5 teams, similar to Super Rugby AU. We have the Blues, who hail from Auckland, and their home ground is Eden Park. The Highlanders, representing from Otago, kind of Dunedin. Forsyth Bar is the stadium there, kind of indoor stadium, pretty cool. The Crusaders, who are Canterbury Crusaders, in Christchurch, and their stadium, Orange Theory Stadium. Which is formerly AMI Park, which is what I remember it as. I didn't realize Orange Theory, new sponsor for the year.
Originally Rugby League Park. But
that's right.
They rebranded, but it's the same nice stadium that they always have.
Yes. Then we have in Wellington, in the Cake Tin, your favourite stadium. That's where the Hurricanes ply their trade.
It's literally, the Cake Tin is the worst thing about Super Rugby.
It might be. It's a terrible stadium.
It's an awful stadium.
And then finally, the mighty Chiefs, who Daragh is representing this week. It can only go up from them. They play out of Waikato. It's the Waikato Chiefs. Real kind of Maori representatives, and
the hometown is Hamilton, but actually the Chiefs more than anybody tend to move around.
They do,
and play home games everywhere. In fact, they played a home game in Fiji in the pre-pandemic times.
That was right,
which is pretty cool. Likewise, the competition, like Super Rugby AU, it's going to go on for 10 rounds. Each side's going to play 8 games, home and away, against each other side. After the 10-round regular season, they go straight to a final. They're not going to bother with the
semi-final.
With the semi-finals, given there's 5 teams, which, to be honest, Australians makes a bit more sense.
Yes.
It puts more stakes on the regular season. Which I like. Last year they actually just went by league table, which was a shame because it didn't give any drama to the end of it. As soon as the Blues lost to the Crusaders, it was kind of done.
That's right.
And that was it. So it's great to have a final this time. It means that somebody will get a crack at Scott Robertson's team at the end of the season
in a clutch final match. That should be exciting. This year the competition actually has adopted a few law changes in terms of they're going to do the goal line dropout for being held up over the line. They have that same 10-minute extra time with golden point rule as we were discussing.
They don't have the golden try, they just have the golden point.
They have golden point as it was last year in Super Rugby AU, so slight difference there. They and they have a captain's referral, which actually we didn't mention is in Super Rugby AU as well.
It's not captain's
referrals.
Referrals just brand new to this competition.
There you go. That's why we didn't mention it.
It's a brand new idea taken from other sports without any real thought, and the idea is that the captain is going to be allowed to refer any decision in the last 5 minutes of a game, but other than that it's going to be an infringement in the build up to a try or foul play, which is what they do anyway. Which is why like maybe for a moment like a knock on, but I thought they did this anyway. I thought if the captain said to a ref in good faith, mate, there's a knock on at the bottom of the ruck 2 phases back, you want to take a look, that refs would do that.
Or foul play. As soon as someone it's not just the captain. I'm pretty sure anyone can allege foul play. And they have to check it.
So I don't understand what this captain referral is, apart from this last 5 minutes thing, which means that they can just go anything, which just to me seems crazy, because the amount of I can just picture a captain going, there was a side entry there, in that ruck 2 phases ago, and then the ref going, captain's referral, I have to refer it, and then all of a sudden you're in a TMO looking at the angle that a guy went in, and if it's not blatant, it's just going to be mind melt watching it. So I actually don't like the idea of this. I thought it was already understood that if a captain spoke to the ref, that you'd take a look at it within reason, not for side entries.
And do they have the one about the red card as well, or is that in
the red card? You can replace the guy who's carded after 20 minutes. It didn't come in last year. There were no red cards last year in Super Rugby AU, as far as I know. But it's an interesting one. It sort of deals with a lot of grumbling that's going on in that part of the world about
where
red cards.
Across the Tasman, people are grumbling about red cards. What a red card is a red card. If it's a red card offence, the guy gets sent off.
I just don't subscribe to the notion that red cards ruin matches.
No,
because I've seen so many great matches take place post red card.
Yes, indeed.
It's not.
See, Scotland Wales last weekend for reference, or Ireland Wales even the week before. Like, the red card didn't.
I know the team with the man up won the game, and that kind of it makes people annoyed. But it seems a suitable punishment. That's it. It's not a big deal. The 20 minutes with a man down and losing the guy for the rest of the match is enough of a disincentive to discourage the red card offence. But to me, it just feels like a superficial one. But if it stops the grumbling, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Listen, as before, we're going to just take a quick look at each of the 5 teams in the competition. I'm going to start, with the champions, the all-conquering Crusaders, Scott Robertson's team. They don't need really any introduction. You know who they are. We know who they are.
Champions of the first competition last year, and they won Super Rugby, the macro Super Rugby, in 2017, 2018 and 2019. So they're 4 years champions now, and they're just indomitable. And they play a very more structured style than you'll see from most Kiwi teams, but it's very detail oriented in terms of what their focus is on set piece, on defence. Their forward pack and defence are just huge differences between them and the rest of this competition in terms of their organisation.
I hate bringing these things up without being able to cite the source, because the person who did this deserves credit. I might find a way to put them in the description, but some stato guy put together the key differential that the Crusaders have, and they had basically a line in terms of the way teams execute in all sorts of areas: scrums, lineouts, attack from set piece, defence, exit, all these kind of things. And the key differential, the point where the Crusaders just went up in efficiency outside of the usual line on the graph, was their capacity to score from transition. Once they turn over the ball, their instincts are top notch. They work ridiculously hard to get into shape. They're encouraged as a team, and Ronan O'Gara has spoken about sort of his time there as well. They do a lot of on-field thinking. They're active. The players are actively becoming coaches, and it's a big emphasis of Scott Robertson to get his players all thinking about the game and all contributing and making on-the-field decisions. And so they just have this wonderful telepathy and this wonderful attacking mindset once they're on turnover ball, that they just become ruthlessly efficient. Guys get into the right channels, they pick the perfect lines, they work ridiculously hard, they make great runs off the ball. And they've redefined the meaning of the word elite in club rugby in the last number of years.
And the meaning of the word dominant. I don't know if there's a more dominant force in rugby than the Crusaders down the south. So looking at that they were the final the year before they won it, and they've won every competition they've been in since 2017. So it's pretty mighty impressive, and it's tough to see. And we were hopeful for the Blues last year. They really did look a quality team that maybe they might upset them, but ultimately it ended up being another Crusaders year.
Because the Blues had them. They had their number. They were beating them up front, and then they just made this tremendous hustle play off a quick restart that changed the game, with Richie Mo'unga just kicking to himself and making his way down the field. They have the relentless belief that only a champion side can have, along with non-stop intelligent playmaking from the guys in the field. It's just a very tough thing to deal with.
And then when you look at some of the actual calibre of the players in themselves, that's part of what facilitated. So their captain is big all black lock Scott Barrett, obviously a force to be reckoned with. But then you look through the other team sheet and you have Richie Mo'unga, as you said, Sevu Reese, Will Jordan, fantastic season last year, George Bridge, Jack Goodhue, David Havili, Cody Taylor, Sam Whitelock, My God, it could be an All Blacks team.
Yeah, and you could go on like that. Those are just the standout All Blacks in the squad. They've got some phenomenal players.
Yeah.
Like even Mitch Dunshee is a class operator.
Yeah.
Like they Bryn Hall at scrum half, wonderful little halfback. Like they have endless talent, and would go into this competition as barnstorming, overwhelming favourites.
Yes,
as it always is. The second team that we're going to look at is the Blues, the Auckland Blues,
who were second last year, were they not? Or maybe they finished third.
They finished second. They finished second. They proved to be a very exciting team under Leon MacDonald with some excellent young talent.
A big coup was Beauden Barrett last year, switching allegiances and joining the Blues. He was playing a lot from fullback for them, and he looks, obviously you add a Beauden Barrett to any team, they're going to be fantastic.
And it'll be a curiosity to see how they go without him, because he's still registered to them, I believe, but he is going to be playing in Japan this year, so that is obviously the big caveat to any predictions about them. He added a lot.
He did.
But they do have some fantastic talent. They play great industrious rugby. They push the Crusaders, and they did it not with Beauden Barrett necessarily, but with a competitive forward pack. I mean,
the guys like Tui Pilatu,
Captain Patrick is just awesome.
He's a monster.
Finally broke through last year and emerged.
We were wondering whether he would in time for the World Cup. Didn't quite happen, but last season really, really was phenomenal from him, and he was great for the All Blacks too. And then you have guys like Caleb Clark. And another guy needs no introduction. Fantastic. Broke onto the international scene with the All Blacks, but that was on the foot of his great performance with the Blues beforehand in Super Rugby Aotearoa. And you have Rico Ioane kidding out at 13 for them all season last year and looking devastating.
Revelatory.
Brilliant.
It really reignited his career, that switch, and he was awesome all year long, making defensive reads, making offensive plays. Key linchpin in that offense, and with the absence of Barrett just becomes more so.
And he's only half the Ioanes they have in there, because they have Akira Ioane as well. He's another phenom.
Akira Ioane as well. Like, he's a guy. He came into the All Black team toward the end last season. Had a great game, I believe it was, in the last time out. But he's not far off breaking through himself. A la Tui Pilatu. He's a guy who's been coming up and not quite breaking through, and maybe there's a year coming where he puts it all together, because he's got all the attributes.
He does. And then just a few others. Hoskins Tutu, one of the great breakthrough talents of last year. Dalton Papali'i, fantastic back row forward, dangerous. Ofa Tuongafasi, fantastic tight end, the best tight end in New Zealand by far. Their scrum is a monster. Their pack were dominant last year in most of the games they played. Look for them to strike off set piece, look for them to maul, look for them to kind of mix up things and present a different picture to what you typically see in Kiwi rugby.
Going to be much more forward oriented, especially without Barrett.
Indeed.
I think crucial to seeing how they go is going to be what goes on at 10.
Ottery Black
he was good last
year.
He made the step up. Stephen Perifetta is the other option. One or other of those guys needs to play really well if they're going to have a chance of mixing with the Crusaders.
You'd think so. And the pack obviously will need to do a huge job if they're going to topple the Crusaders. But then we'll swivel on, because the other team in it, we have a few other teams in it. The Hurricanes are the third choice on our list. I think they did finish third last season as well.
They did. It's correctly ordered.
That's right, so the Canes, they still played with a lot of zest and a lot of tempo, even despite Bodie being annexed. And they were aggrieved at that at the beginning of the season, but they put together a nice season all told, because they started pretty slowly, I think, last year, and then kind of built into the competition.
They were the only side to beat the Crusaders.
They were. There you go, which is a feather in the cap, because Crusaders don't lose many games at all.
No, indeed. They're actually, in charge of them is a former 102 cap Munsterman who was in Munster for 8 years, Jason Holland.
There you go.
And his side, they continue to play just a great brand of rugby, led by captain Artie Sevilla. We all know about Artie. He's
playmaker supreme.
One of the great players. Like, when I say this competition is stacked with talent, I'm not lying. Artie is just an awesome player. They're 2-time champions.
So there's pedigree in the club for sure, and they'll have belief they want to kick on.
A lot of these guys will have won those comps as well back in, I believe it was 2014 and 2015. It was either 2014 and 2015 or 2015 and 2016.
Right.
But they had a couple of Actually, might be wrong about that. The Highlanders win might have come in between their wins, but they had a couple of wins in short succession, and they were the best team with Bodie in there for a few years. Yeah. But they still have a stack full of talent as well. They've got still TJ Perenara running the show from 9. Yeah. You've got Jordy Barrett, Vince Asso, and Nyani Lamape have a very powerful combination in the midfield. Dane Cole's world class hooker, as we all know, via Fafita, is a guy who came into the All Black team a few years ago and looked ferocious, and it would be cool to see him get some great form back in that forward pack. And also Julian Sevilla returning to the fold.
Yeah, point of intrigue is first to venture back into Super Rugby. He had lost a bit of form before moving to Toulon.
He's the former pretty all-conquering performer in this competition, or at least in the Super Rugby, the macro Super Rugby of old. He was a key man in those title runs with the Hurricanes, and it would be class to see him back to his best as well. So it's just an exciting team.
Exciting team. They play a beautiful brand. Always good to watch them. Regardless of the opposition.
TJ is just a fantastic, frenetic tempo setter for them. Yeah, and he just gets them going. And they're just a beautiful team to watch with TJ at the helm, because he can just run a show, and they can set a tempo that just takes down defenses.
Terrify you.
And you look at the great Crusaders defense last year, how you can unlock that. Just a bit of TJ magic where you're just making the tempo relentless is a great way of doing it. And TJ is probably the best tempo setting 9, if not the best passing 9. That's because Aaron Smith is still in the mix as well, as we'll get onto with the Highlanders, who we're going to next. But TJ Perenara for me is their key man still. Obviously Artie Sevilla as well in the pack is going to be crucial.
But without Bodie, it's become a bit more of an off 9 kind of thing. In terms of tempo. But definitely ones to watch out for, the Hurricanes. And then as you said, pivoting on to the Highlanders, who are a fantastic team, historical club. They produce Ben Smith, so I'm a huge Highlanders sympathiser. I think he's
Highlanders are easily one of the most likeable teams in all of Super Rugby. The fact that they finished 4th is just a reflective of how stacked this competition is, as I keep saying. Because they're a really gritty class team in their own way. They're obviously former champions themselves a few years back, but they always show great hustle. They have great guile. They're tough, and they're a difficult side to play with. They've got a great home stadium in Forsyth Bar with the roof down and the college kids out. They actually managed to generate as good an atmosphere as anywhere in New Zealand. They're coached this year by the great Tony Brown.
That's a game changer for them. All right, that could be huge.
He was a pivotal part of that Jamie Joseph coaching ticket, I believe, in the World Cup. And he's I might be wrong about that. He was in charge of the Sunwolves. He was with Jamie Joseph when the Highlanders won the competition way back when. I think he was part of that Japan team, but I'd have to double check. But he's a great pedigree as a coach, great pedigree as a set piece play caller. And if you look at the way the rugby was going in Europe, set piece attack is all the rage right now. So I think him and his head coach could be transformative for this team. They've got a couple of great players as captain and co-captain. Actually, they're joint co-captains, Aaron Smith and Ash Dixon.
Beautiful players.
Hooker and 9. You know about Aaron Smith, but Ash Dixon is just a brilliant player as well.
He's so lucky that you have the likes of Dane Coles and Cody Taylor ahead of him, because he would walk into a lot of international teams as captain, because he's just a fantastic guy. He's honest as the day is long, but a hustling machine from 2. He's getting on a little bit now, but I still have serious faith in him. And then to bolster that pack as well, they brought in Japanese superstar number 8 Himeno. Oh my god, like last time I saw Himeno, he was tormenting Ireland in the World Cup. He is a force at number 8. And
you've got him in there with Shannon Frizzell in that back row as well. Parry Parkinson was a class performer last year, and at lock he could make the step up this year and be tough to deal with. Liam Coltman is going to be in that back row as well. Liam Squire, actually, Coltman might have to take a back seat because Liam Squire is in there as well.
You could have a back row of Squire, Frizzell, Himeno.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Tony Brown knows what he's doing, and Himeno is a shrewd acquisition. We'll get into this when we look at the odds at the end of it, but I think these are easily your best value bet, because Aaron Smith is the best 9 in the world. I would still say on last year's form probably ahead of DuPont, because he's that good, and that's not a disservice to DuPont. It's hello guys, Aaron Smith is that good.
Yeah.
And the All Blacks were helped tremendously by him. He was keeping them alive really when their offense was struggling, just by bringing crisp passing with an immaculate tempo and a great offensive read on the game.
Yeah.
And you've got guys like Milner Scudder, if he can get a bit of form and a bit of consistent
it's been a while since
fitness.
He's got a run of form, but we know how devastating he can be.
Yeah, I just get the feeling that this team could be about to go off.
Mitch Hunt
and Josh Ioane are the two options at 10, and one of them is going to need to go well for them to compete, because it is tough without like, you can't do everything off 9. It would be nice to see them get a bit of back play on top of their forward hustle, but I think with those loose forward ball runners, there is capacity for them to get wide and break open teams.
Brown's making some interesting play calls. There could be space out wide for the likes of Milner Scudder.
Always a fantastic play caller is Tony Brown, and I'm very, very excited to see what his team can do. I think they might be the most exciting prospect in terms of unknown entities and potentially class entities the Highlanders this year. So one to watch for sure.
For sure. And then that finally leads us on to the team that sadly finished last, with Warren Gatland coaching them last year.
That's right.
No wins for the Chiefs last year.
They must have got a win, did they?
I don't think so.
They lost every game. Is that true?
I think so.
Oh, jeez, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Oh my god.
Gatland was winless last year.
I did see them lose a lot, but I must have thought they must have won once. Jeez. It's a tough competition when you're not playing well.
Yes.
The Chiefs, traditionally speaking, they are my favourite New Zealand franchise. They have a great sort of... they have a great cultural identity, and they always attacked with just relentless flair, they took Kiwi offensive football to just a whole other level. Like, rooks are generally speaking their enemy, set piece their enemy. Like, they want to get from one side of the field to the other and back again without any of that. No set piece, no rooks, just keep the ball alive, keep tempo going, keep running awesome tracking lines, tire teams out, the ball in play for minutes and minutes on end. With that end in a Chiefs try. They were just the iconic offensive team for so many years. They won Super Rugby back to back. I believe it was 2012 and 2013. And then they had a great run under Dave Rennie, building a nice team that couldn't quite best the Crusaders.
Fell just short, with the Crusaders being the one hiccup.
And then the Canes before them. The Chiefs were always nearly there after 2013 without ever actually doing it. And then they that Dave Rennie team fell away when Rennie left, and actually Kieran Keane, the backup coach, left, and Aaron Cruden left, and Liam Messam left, and then the endless amount of players who left.
In other words,
the club was just ridiculous. Charlie Ngatai, like, they had a great team once upon a year, and they haven't ever got back to those heights really since. So it's on the interim head coach, the non-Warren Gatland coach, because Gatland's off allegedly doing Lions things. So they got this guy Clayton McMillan, who's going to come in and lead the team, and hopefully give a bit of freedom and a bit of...
scarcely go worse than last year. So pressure's kind of off in that regard. But they need to find something. Obviously, they do still have Sam Cane, All Blacks captain now. Useful weapon, and he missed the beginning of the season last year for them, and then when he came back in, it made a seismic difference. They were suddenly more competitive, albeit still losing, but like, it was night and day in terms of just their grit and their hustle when he was on the pitch. So he's a huge asset for them. And then in the pack, they're a little light, but they have guys like Tupou Vai and Sawakula, who was really impressive last year.
Pretty quality last year,
and,
for sure.
Will need to step up, because besides that, they are a little bit light in the pack.
They got to move it quick. I mean, it's all about the backline talent that they have. I was talking earlier in the show about the scrum halves like Brad Weber and Te Tahuri-Orangi. I hope I pronounced that right. Tahuri-Orangi, I think, something along those lines.
A mouthful.
Those two guys are class scrum halves. I mean, Tahuri-Orangi was injured for most of last year, so he didn't get a consistent run of form, and we know how good Brad Weber is. So they could be driving an maybe tempo from 9 themselves.
Bryn Gatland in at 10 as well.
Bryn Gatland is a good option for them, but they've got like decent players out wide as well. Sean Wainui, Sean Stevenson, Anton Leonard-Brown in the midfield is going to be key for them. He needs to rediscover some form.
He does.
He needs to not be running silly crash balls like he was last year.
All of last year, he spent his time running the Jamie Roberts line, and it's like, he's not Jamie Roberts.
It hurt him from an All Blacks point of view as well. So we'd be excited to see the Chiefs throw the ball around a bit more. And of course, the linchpin of it all is Damien McKenzie, who is Mr.
D-Mac at fullback,
Mr. Chiefs,
and Mr. Transition. He's vital to their chances. If you get a high-flying Chiefs team with Damien McKenzie getting his hands on the ball in space in the 15-metre channel.
And not playing 10. I don't want to... trust Bryn Gatland. Don't put him at 10 because he's not a 10, and it hurts when he's at 10 because you don't have him at fullback in the wide channels.
It's true.
Which is where you need him. The Chiefs need to be wide, outside of teams.
He needs to be linking with Wainui and the like out there rather than trying to put Anton Leonard-Brown into a Jamie Roberts crash ball.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that would be an ugly look for the Chiefs.
And you don't need to see him kicking the leather off the ball either. This team needs to be about attack because they are not as stacked as the other teams in terms of top talent. And every game is a nightmare. Every game is a tough game at this level. So they have to be quick. They have to be offensive, and they have to get some wins.
Yeah, they have to get some wins, of course. Yeah, but they are coming in bottom of the pack. Just in terms of betting odds, I suppose, for it. Your favourites, no prizes for guessing who are the betting favourites. It's the Crusaders.
Yes,
sitting at 5-6, almost even money. It's it's tough to see past the Crusaders given the calibre of them and their recent record. So they are obviously coming in at favourites. Second, we have the Blues at 9-2. Decent shout, maybe.
That's on form from last year, but they are a Barrettless Blues.
So maybe not. Maybe not this year. Maybe last year was their chance to oust.
That's kind of what I feel, but they do still have probably on paper the best pack in the competition because they've got some just explosive players in that forward pack.
They do. So they'll be able to mix it with anyone, and they'll probably win a fair few games. They'll be good enough for second and third.
They'll be there.
Could be making the final. Then third, we have the Hurricanes at 5-1. Decent shout there. I think the Hurricanes at 5-1 is decent, and then the Highlanders at 6-1.
That's my bet.
That could be a bet.
That's my bet for
a fresh coaching ticket, a fresh outlook, but some of the same kind
Tony
of
Brown was in
as
assistant coach last year, and they always had great hustle about them. But I want to see what he can do as head of the helm because I've always rated him as a coach. I had my eye on him for a number of years because when Joe Schmidt originally left Leinster way back in 2013, Tony Brown was actually tipped as a potential
Leinster coach.
Potential left field option.
There
was a rumour going around that he might be given the job, and it didn't in the end. But I've had my eye on him ever since, and he's been going from strength to strength.
Nothing but impressive.
A hallmark of his stuff is this class play calling and this class play design off set piece. And if you're watching the Six Nations, any Kiwi fans out there, like the way that rugby has moved from last year being very, very defensive, this year the response to the defence has been very set piece oriented. And so it could just be a marrying of worlds where he gets to open teams up. I'm just really, really excited to see what he can do with his full head coach, hands on the reins,
and he's inheriting a club with a great ethos and a great hustle, albeit a year that didn't quite go their way last year. They finished fourth, but they're not that far away.
They are a lot of quality. Adding Jimeno to that just makes them. They could easily go on a run. They could easily go on a run to the final. It's not that between the Blues, the Canes, and the Highlanders. There's not that much there, and I definitely do feel that
6-1 could be good odds, and then finally 7-1 the Chiefs. That feels like a poor bet, to be honest.
They're not going to do it. They don't have the same talent. They do have Damien McKenzie, but outside of that, they don't have.
Maybe if you were offering me 15-1, I'd stick the punt on it. But at 7-1, it seems just unlikely and a silly bet, to be honest.
They are a great team, and I'd love to see them go back to throwing the ball around. I don't see them really competing with these top sides because they don't have the same. They don't like the Crusaders and the Blues just on that pack strength alone. And then now the Highlanders with that incredible back row talent. It's just going to be very, very tough for them to compete physically.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So they need to find some way of unpicking those guys. And being the helter-skelter barbarian style of rugby is a great thing, a great look to bring anyway. But they're desperate for a win. They need to get some winning culture returned before they even increased their calibre, because last season was a disaster for them.
Let's see. With that, we're just going to look at the first round is going to kick off next Friday. That's Friday week, Friday 26th of February. It's going to be between the Highlanders and the Crusaders to get us off. That's a great start. Forsyth Bar, always a buzz. And you have the Highlanders, who are my theoretical pretenders to the throne of the Crusaders, who are the all-conquering champions, and it'll be a great litmus test of a game to start. It'll just be a wonderful game to start the season. That'll be at 6 in the morning our time, 7:05 local time. And then, as if it weren't enough of a meal of a game to start the season, we go on to the Hurricanes against the Blues, which is second against third from last year. just another great
really
game.
Competitive match. Could go either way. Definitely going to be exciting footy. We have like razzle dazzle from the Canes versus muscle from the Blues potentially, or it could look something different. You don't know because they're both very broad, like they're very well rounded teams and they're quite evenly matched. So that's definitely going to be a banger. It's on at the same time, same kickoff time, but it's on Saturday and it's going to be at Sky Stadium in Wellington. That's going to be exciting.
The cake tin.
The cake tin.
Yes, that's the negative. But
he does not like the cake tin.
Who likes the cake tin? It's a cricket ground. It looks ridiculous. It never there can be great crowds in there, and it never looks full because they're miles away from the stadium and sitting in those yellow seats with the weird wind spinning. It's no good. It's no good.
He does not like the cake tin at all.
Also, Wales beat Ireland there in 2011 in the World Cup.
Oh yeah, that's true too. So all kinds of reasons for not liking the cake tin. Whereas Forsyth Bar, fantastic.
Forsyth Bar, awesome.
Friday night at Forsyth Bar.
Yeah,
that sounds like the place to be. But we'll be here, locked down.
Yeah, regardless of stadium critiques, it's just going to be a fantastic tournament, and I'm hoping, touching wood, that the broadcasters managed to put together something for us over here in this part of the world.
Someone should pick it up because
we're deprived. We're going to have to be
competition.
Bootlegging or doing VPN stuff and mad subscriptions and all sorts of hustle may have to be done for us to get a chance to watch these games.
Whereas it used to be just and record.
Yeah.
What is it? 6 a.m. kickoff. Record.
Yeah, I know.
You know?
It sucks. It does suck. But if there was ever something worth waking up at 6 a.m. for, it might be these games, because they are just fantastic to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. So Super Rugby kicking off in both Australia and New Zealand in the weeks to come. That is definitely exciting news as far as club rugby is concerned.
For sure. Thanks for watching the Overlap Rugby podcast. If you enjoyed that video, please be sure to like and subscribe. And hey, if you have an opinion of your own, if you disagree with what we're saying, leave a comment down below. We might just get back to you.